Leaders recognized.
I thank the distinguished gentleman from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Richie Neal, for yielding and for his tremendous leadership. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to Donald Trump's one big, ugly bill, this disgusting abomination, the GOP tax scam that guts Medicaid, rips food from the mouths of children, seniors, and veterans, and rewards billionaires with massive tax breaks. Every single Democrat stands in strong opposition to this bill because we're standing up for the American people. Mr. Speaker, I've heard a lot from my Republican colleagues who've expressed pride in this accomplishment. I asked the question, if Republicans were so proud of this one big, ugly bill, why did debate begin at 3:28 a.m. in the morning? Republicans are once again, which has been the case, Mr. Speaker, through every step of this journey, tried to jam this bill through the House of Representatives under cover of darkness. But I'm here today to make it clear that I'm going to take my time and ensure that the American people fully understand how damaging this bill will be to their quality of life. Now, Republicans and Donald Trump promised that costs would go down on day one. Costs haven't gone down under Donald Trump and House Republicans here in the United States of America. In fact, costs have gone up. We believe that America is too expensive, that the cost of living is too high, that's a priority that should be worked on in a bipartisan way. But from the very beginning of this Congress, our Republican colleagues have shown no interest in addressing the high cost of living in the United States of America. Not a single executive order has been issued by this administration, Mr. Speaker, to address the high cost of living. Not a single bill has been passed, Mr. Speaker, to address the high cost of living in the United States of America. And this bill, this one big, ugly bill, this reckless Republican budget, this disgusting abomination, is not about improving the quality of life of the American people. It will hurt everyday Americans in several different ways. This bill represents the largest cut to health care in American history. It's an all-out assault on the health care of the American people, an assault on Medicaid, an assault on Medicare, an assault on the Children's Health Insurance Program, an assault on the Affordable Care Act, an assault on Planned Parenthood and the health care of women all across the United States of America, an unprecedented assault on the American people and their health care. Almost $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. This runs directly contrary to what President Trump indicated in January, which was that he was going to love and cherish Medicaid. Nothing about this bill loves and cherishes Medicaid. It guts Medicaid. It guts Medicaid in a way that's going to hurt children, hurt families, hurt seniors, hurt people with disabilities, hurt women, hurt everyday Americans. Hospitals will close, including all throughout rural America, Mr. Speaker. Nursing homes will shut down. By some estimates, 1 in 4 nursing homes will close as a result of this one big, ugly bill. And community-based health clinics, which are the lifelines in neighborhood after neighborhood all across this country, in urban America, in rural America, in suburban America, in small-town America, in the heartland of America, will not be able to operate. And as a result of the lack of health care that will result directly from this one big ugly bill, people in America will die. Unnecessary deaths. That is outrageous. It's disgusting. That is not what we should be doing here in the United States House of Representatives. Not what we should be doing. In addition to the cuts to Medicaid, this bill will result in the largest cut to Medicare in American history. By some estimates, more than $500 billion in cuts to Medicare as a result of the Republicans' one big, ugly bill. This bill will also result in a devastating blow to the Affordable Care Act. That's no surprise because since 2010, Republicans, Mr. Speaker, have been trying to gut and destroy the Affordable Care Act. And as a result of the damage that is done to the Affordable Care Act in this legislation, millions of Americans will lose their health care. The assault on health care in this one big ugly bill will result in more than 17 million Americans losing health care in the United States of America. Shame on the people who've decided to launch that kind of all-out assault on the health and the well-being of everyday Americans. That's not what we should be doing here in the United States House of Representatives. And because of the drastic cuts that are made to health care in this one big ugly bill, people with private insurance all across America are going to experience increases in their premiums, their copays, and their deductibles. Millions of Americans in every corner of this country, an all-out assault on health care. That's a very different vision, Mr. Speaker, that Republicans have working hard to take health care away from the American people than our vision, because we believe, as Democrats, that in the United States of America, health care should not simply be a privilege. Health care is a right that should be available to every single person in the United States of America. This bill is an all-out assault on the health care of the people of the United States of America, hard-working American taxpayers. These are the people we should be standing up to work hard to lift up. But instead, they're victims of this legislation. Hospitals will close. That impacts everybody in the United States of America. If your hospital closes, whether you're on Medicaid or not, you will be unable to get the treatment that you or your family needs. That's why we're fighting so hard to stop this bill. 1 in 4 nursing homes, by some estimates, will close as a result of the Republicans' assault on Medicaid in this one big, ugly bill. This bill also represents an assault on nutritional assistance here in the United States of America. We've made great progress over the last 50 plus years as it relates to hunger in this country. Great progress. But we're still dealing with the reality that tens of millions of people in this country go to bed every night wondering whether they're going to be able to get a nutritious meal the next day. Tens of millions of people in this country, millions of children. And instead of trying to address that issue, Mr. Speaker, the one big ugly bill will rip nutritional benefits away from millions of Americans, including children, rip food from the mouths of hungry children and hungry veterans and hungry seniors. That is unacceptable. That's one of the reasons why we stand in strong opposition, Mr. Speaker, to this one big, ugly bill. Republicans promised to address the high cost of living in the United States of America. We believe that the cost of living is too high. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. Insurance costs are too high. Child care costs are too high. America is too expensive. There are far too many people in this country struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. That should not be the case in the United States of America. But instead of addressing the high cost of living in this one big ugly bill, Mr. Speaker, Republicans are actually going to increase costs, particularly as it relates to the energy bills that everyday Americans pay. Estimated that energy bills will increase by hundreds of dollars a year. That has nothing to do with lowering the high cost of living, making this country a more affordable place. It does the exact opposite. It's an all-out and unnecessary assault on the clean energy tax credits. The clean energy tax credits that many of my Republican colleagues promised in letter after letter after letter that you would stand behind, but all chose to fold and abandon, fighting instead for special interests and opposing the ability for this country to stand up a cleaner energy economy, which means cheaper energy. And because of the attack on clean energy jobs, on the clean energy economy, on the economic development that had already been set in motion, often in districts represented by my Republican colleagues and in Republican-led states, red states. By some estimates, millions of jobs are going to be lost. And so you're ripping health care away from millions of Americans, Mr. Speaker, ripping food away from children and veterans and seniors, raising the cost of utilities, of paying your energy bill by hundreds of dollars, stripping away millions of jobs all across America. And what is all of this being done for? To provide massive tax breaks to billionaires all across this country. We are better than that in the United States of America. When we take an oath, convene here, come to the United States Capitol, our job is to make life better for everyday Americans. But the genesis of this bill, the focus of this bill, the justification for all of the cuts that will hurt everyday Americans in this bill is to provide massive tax breaks for billionaires. It's extraordinary. Never in my time here in Congress have I experienced legislation that benefits so few people who fall into the category of the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, while at the same time hurting everyday Americans, that we should be fighting hard to help. Now, all of this apparently is being rushed because the decision was made by President Trump that he would like to get a bill done by the 4th of July. What does the 4th of July have to do with this one big, ugly bill? What does celebrating American independence, the birth of this exceptional country, the journey that we've been on for 249 years, what does any of that have to do with this one big, ugly bill? I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, that if you actually look at the Declaration of Independence, what we find is that everything about this one big, ugly bill runs in direct contrast with what was set in motion by the framers and the founders of our great country. Of course, the Declaration of Independence, authored by Thomas Jefferson, makes the famous statement that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Mr. Speaker, I want to lock in for just a moment on that aspirational objective, the pursuit of happiness. Because when it comes to everyday Americans, this one big, ugly bill will hurt the quality of life of hardworking American taxpayers, and it's all designed to put a happy smile on the face of billionaires. That is inconsistent with the Declaration of Independence and what we should be celebrating on July 4th. I think what Thomas Jefferson and the framers of this country, they set us out on a course of action, a journey, a march toward a more perfect union, in part anchored in the pursuit of happiness, which decade after decade, century after century, leaders who sat at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, leaders in this Congress on both sides of the aisle tried to bring about for the greatest number of Americans. But that's not what this one big ugly bill is all about. America is too expensive. There are far too many people who are living paycheck to paycheck here in this great country. That should not be the case. People who are struggling to survive, to make ends meet. Mr. Speaker, imagine a country where everyone can afford to live the good life. Work hard, play by the rules, and live the good life. We haven't reached that place in the United States of America. Imagine a country where everyone can work hard, play by the rules, and live the good life. Good paying job, good housing, good health care, good education for your children, and a good retirement. Which means keep your hands off Social Security and Medicare, now and forever. Now and forever. We want a country where every single American can afford to live the good life. Good paying job, good housing, good health care, good education for your children, and then a good retirement. And we know that in the United States of America, to unlock that quintessential American dream, living the good life, you have to work hard and play by the rules. But the challenge that so many Americans have right now in this country is that they're doing those two things. They're working hard and they're playing by the rules, but they're unable to experience the great American dream. They're unable to get to that third leg. They're unable to live the good life. And that's what we should be focusing on here in the United States Congress. Not gutting Medicaid, not ripping food out of the mouths of hungry children, not rewarding billionaires with massive tax breaks. How can you prepare to celebrate legislation that will undermine the quality of life of everyday Americans?